Well, so that was after an entire 365 and a quarter days, which is probably, well, I guess it's probably the longest we've had since Doctor Who episode. I think there was a year where we didn't have any. Well, actually, we did have the four specials. So after an entire year, Doctor Who is back with Doctor Who Part 1 Spyfall. It was about an hour long episode. And this is going to be a spoiler reaction, by the way, before I go further. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, don't watch this stream. Watch the episode. There was a plot twist at the end, and oh my god, I really hope that plot twist sticks and isn't like a false plot twist that is undone in the next episode. I'm just before I start the stream because I'm rubbish at preparing. Just gonna bring up the cast list. Find the cast. Because I'm going to refer to some. The name. Got it. Yeah, so the plot twist at the end was that the character O, played by Sacha Doan, is actually the master. And generally, we saw him for about less than a minute or two of the episode as the master, but generally, I hope the plot twist sticks. For many reasons. Firstly, the master is now played by a person of color, which is always going to excite me, especially someone who is South Asian in origin. And like just I don't know, I'm a big fan of kind of overacting. Actors who are very comfortable using kind of body language and using their body, and the way he did that in the last couple of seconds. I mean, he endeared himself more to me in the last couple of seconds than the previous incarnation of the Master did in the couple of seconds that they were on screen for. When I first saw them, and then, actually no, the in the few couple of seconds you've seen him as the Master endeared me more than the entirety of how Missy was portrayed. Is what I meant to say. Because kind of the way I ramble when I'm literally just speaking seconds after watching an episode about any other thoughts that are going in my head. And I guess it's kind of interesting because like it was her character who was clearly designed to be. I didn't expect O to be a big part of the plot, and then O wasn't it a lot, but the way the character was portrayed was very middle-ish. Like, he does. Say you've got two teams of characters. You've got a important character to the role, and obviously how the actor portrays that character would be more emphasis versus a minor character who appears in a single scene and only does a kind of passing trail. That's not to say that obviously their acting abilities are yay or nay, because you get very good major character actors, and then you get very bad major character actors and very good minor character actors. Say the person who drove the car that had all the characters in the first act of the episode. Obviously, the character is just there as a plot device, nothing really more. You don't really expect him to do kind of more with the character versus Lenny Henry as Daniel, whatever his name is, having them in the episode, and then obviously them having to put more emphasis in the role because they're a main feature of the episode. Obviously, get cameos like what Super Fry's appearance eventually turned out to be. Whilst Sacha Doran's portrayal of his character seemed like very at times seemed very backgroundy, but then at times didn't but then seemed too much to be backgroundy. But I wasn't quite sure what role they were really playing in the episode. And then with the talent as an actor, where you go from playing one character completely different character while still being the same character, if that makes sense. Basically, the Clark Kent Superman effect that we saw in the traditional Superman movies, where when he was being Clark Kent, he had a certain posture and a certain act about him, and then when he was being Superman, he completely changed how he acted, and that's one of the most kind of there's an article about kind of portrayal about that I saw a couple of years ago, but as an acting skill, that is quite immense to basically play the same character but show two different faces, and that's kind of what happened there. I mean, probably not to the same degree, but I don't know, maybe that's what sold the plot twist for me as well as it did. But hey, let's go through the episode kind of piece by piece and discuss different attributes towards it. I'm trying to work out if I'm going to go through this chronologically or just randomly, sporadically as my mind goes. And sporadically as my mind goes probably makes a lot of sense considering it's Doctor Who, and that's kind of how Doctor Who is embodied in every sense of the way as a show and as a narrative. But I guess, yeah, we start off having a minor reintroduction to all the three characters, where they're then somehow abducted by Men in Black. And I guess some excuses about why they keep disappearing, because that's something we apparently still need nowadays. And then they're all kind of in a car. It's that weird kind of TV thing where we cut from another scene to another scene, and then they have a conversation about what's going on. You know, like, so were they sitting for like at least 10-20 minutes without any kind of discussion about what was happening? Especially because it was daytime when the Doctor was taken by the Men in Black, and then it was like at least late evening when they actually had a chat in the car. So something clearly didn't happen during that time, which made it probably an awkward thing. But then the car was hijacked by some alien presence, which we've never seen in Doctor Who before. Definitely not at least a couple of years back during this entire episode. That's never happened as a thing. And the driver's randomly assassinated, and then they try to kill the Doctor and the TARDIS crew by reversing. And then Stephen Fry voice randomly appears, and then obviously we have Stephen Fry, who I think is probably the first character to really have that kind of reaction to the gender change of the Doctor, which I guess was interesting that they kind of decided that now was the point where we needed to have that in. I guess it was going to happen sooner or later, or maybe it wasn't really having to happen sooner or later. I find myself struggling to have much thoughts about the early part of the episode, because I think I'm just completely engrossed in the last 5 minutes, and I think that's probably a commentary on how passingly okay the rest of the episode was, and then really the kind of larger connotations of what excited me more than the actual entire episode as it is. Yeah, Stephen Fry was in it for like 5 minutes, and then he gets killed. There's this really annoying habit in the new series of woefully underusing your guest stars. I don't get why. I'm gonna assume it's not because of lack of funding. I mean, we can go talk all day, any day about funding TV and the BBC and whatever, but that's arbitrary, I guess, this discussion. But it was like, I still am very, very bitter over when they used Bill Bailey in that Christmas special and the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, and his character played no role. I'm still bitter because Bill Bailey's a wonderful actor, and Stephen Fry is a wonderful actor. Much as I dislike Stephen Fry as a person, Stephen Fry as an actor is wonderfully good. And why would you get someone who has? The thing is, Stephen Fry is a British icon in media. You know, love him or hate him, his name is quite synonymous with quintessential British television. He's famous for QI, he's famous for Blackadder, he's famous for a bit of Fry and Laurie. So you get someone with that much presence and you just don't use them, seems to me quite ridiculous. Because then, I mean, obviously, people have guest starred as multiple characters in Doctor Who throughout, but kind of once you've used someone like this once, using them again seems less likely. I don't know. I feel now used to. I mean, none of the other previous British guest stars we've had have kind of returned with any meaningful significance. So I think that's a waste of Stephen Fry, but I think that's kind of predicting it. At least it didn't waste playing Henry, who admittedly I've not seen much of his acting. Probably a couple of things, a couple of sketches, but I'm mainly known for his presenting and for children. No, Red Nose Day. That was the right one. Don't mix up my charities, Harris. Um, but yeah, at least he wasn't underused. But yeah, Stephen Fry was in it to basically reprise his role um, from the Alex Rider film series, but also play Q. I mean, this this episode, pretty obviously and unashamedly and without any subtleness, is drawing on James Bond. I mean, the title is Spyfall, for God's sake. Um, but yeah, I guess as a Q type figure is kind of what you want Stephen Fry to play. I mean, there's people who made Alex Rider films had the same thought. It was just, stop underusing. Don't like when you underuse bloody Bill Bailey. Stop underusing people. Not like especially people with that kind of presence. But yeah, he dies, and then the TARDIS crew escapes, and then we have the part in Australia where we introduce Sasha, Darren's character, and then the other two companions, Ryan and Yamzin, go to San Francisco, which is probably filmed in Cardiff somewhere. Again, I'm still not a fan of the companions, especially not Poison Cole and Mandeep Gill. They aren't really. At no point have we reached a point where I consider doing anything. For me, I don't think Poison Cole is that good an actor. I don't. He seems to have two expressions: blank and scared, and that's about it. And then Mandeep Gill's acting, I guess, is slightly better, but still is more telegraphed. Like you can tell he's acting, not being a character. I guess Bradley Walsh is slightly more reserved, but yeah, he has the kind of experience of a actor. I think that's what his background in acting is. Again, only know him mainly for his presenting roles than his acting roles, but I do know he's had some more experience as an actor. So, but again, the companions don't really seem to have that much presence. Anything. I mean, when we this seems, especially like Poison and Mandy, people seem to have more of a repertoire with each other than they do with the Doctor, and I think that's kind of a problem. Because the kinds are meant to be foils for the Doctor, and they're really not being that here. And it's not just because it's three companions, because I'm mostly a bigger fan of when there's more companions and when it's just a Doctor and a single, usually female companion. Mainly because in the new series, they consistently kept doing that as an excuse to create romantic tension when it didn't need to be. But even before that was the case, I always liked the dynamic more when there was a group of companions who were able to also talk with each other as well as to the Doctor. But compare that when we had the Doctor, Amy, Rory, and River. That dynamic where they were able to bounce off each other and also the Doctor versus this dynamic when it's really you have the Doctor and Graham, and then you've got Ryan and Yamsen. And I really don't care about Ryan and Yamsen's dynamic, especially when both actors aren't really bouncing off each other the way you kind of need them to. Um, I'm mostly cringing when I'm watching them, and maybe I'm a bit too harsh here, but I guess that's my initial thoughts. Also, like, what's with they literally have a part where Yamsin notices there's a CCTV camera, has a gadget that shuts off cam. Well, actually, does one better. It shows the cameras being blank, as in it raises their presence from the camera, which is even better. And then completely neglects to do it whatsoever for the camera in the room we're actually staying in. That then actually, well, I said jeopardizes them, but that actually doesn't have anything to do with it either, because it's not as if it really changed anything about what happened later, which I'll go into in a second. But was the fact that they showed them having the ability and the awareness to compromise cameras, and then immediately having them not do that, is a weird directing and narrative choice, because all it tells me is that they're idiots. But then there's no consequence of that, because the consequence of that is that then Daniel Blake, whatever his surname is, sees the footage later on, but then is immediately accosted by the Doctor, so which obviously negates any sense of them having to hide their identities as spies anyway. So really, that was a whole pointless bit of narrative. There was absolutely no point for that to happen if you're following me here. But yeah, so and then there was a weird bit where Yasmin gets captured and teleported to what looks like the microscopic space between carpets. I don't know if it's meant to be that. That was my initial thoughts, but I'm probably just way off here. But probably some other dimension, probably their dimension. And then was teleported to Australia, and then she's very distressed by it. I really hope we're going to go back to that, explain why, because nothing was shown in this half of the two-parter that really explains why she was distressed, or when she was teleported, which she's been teleported a lot before. I mean, at one point she gets exploded by mind and put back together again, which I would consider to be more traumatic. But yeah, that happens, and then we have a scene where she's like in trauma, and which I probably I love portrayals of trauma are very juicy, meaty pieces of drama to get into, but I usually I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But I'd be more engrossed if I understood what the trauma she was feeling actually was. I don't think she even knew what she was feeling. Other than the explanation that she felt like she was dead because there was nothingness for a couple of seconds, which I guess fair enough, but also what? And then yeah, back in Australia, previously they basically were talking about trying to figure out who the aliens were, not really getting anywhere, and then they captured one, and then that swapped places with Yasmin. That was just kind of plot that happened. I will give some props to the scene where, the scene where they were stalking the two Australian Secret Service guards was tenseful until it wasn't. I thought they were going to play with the darkness a bit more, and then they kind of used light, but that's necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of not where I was expecting it to go in a non-subverty kind of way. Yeah, okay, cool. So then they all party burst. That's not the word. What's the word when you go into someone's party not invited? There's a word for it. Whatever. But they infiltrate the party, and admittedly make the most of the location and their more cinematic camera that they're using for these new series, because it did look decently okay and the colours were quite vibrant. I did enjoy watching it. Infiltrate the party, play gambling, I guess, to fade in until they spot Daniel, and then Dr. Gozer confronts Daniel, who props again here. I actually enjoy the fact that he completely, didn't admit that he was the bad guy. Because usually every time the Doctor confronts a villain in Doctor Who, usually like, oh yes, I am the villain. I will rue this. I will prevail. Kind of jazz. But props to the villain in the spy episode who actually, attempts to make. He almost had me convinced that the Doctor was crazy. Because actually maintained his alibi, and then obviously fled straight away, but didn't admit to being the bad guy straight away and gave nothing away. You gotta give props when the villain doesn't monologue half of the plot away to you. Although I lost a lot of respect for Daniel the second he completely missed 3 targets. I mean, okay, I would know going for the realistic take that firing a pistol out of a moving vehicle at other moving vehicles isn't actually that easy to do in real life, especially if you don't have much firearms training. So I'm going to assume Daniel Blake had never fired a pistol before in his life. But even then, it's kind of stretching credibility that you're able to reliably shoot the headlights on motorcycles, but miss the much larger targets of the people riding the motorcycle. It was just a lot of false tension, but I guess again we're trying to rip off of the whole spy genre, so I guess I'm being a bit too harsh there. But I mean, if you're gonna have someone firing at a car and missing the big people riding the cars. Don't have the bullets ding off the headlights very consistently, because that just tells me he's reliably shooting the headlights and not the actual people. He then gets to the airport, and they try to follow. It is a lot of weird kind of relapses of consistency in not necessarily continuity, but more script continuity. In that they get to the airport. For some reason, someone asked Doctor what we're going to do now, as if not following him into the building is the obvious next course of action. They go into the building, which is surrounded by, well, not surrounded, but there's at least 2 armed guards we see in a shot. Now, I don't think you guys have ever been in an airport hangar, but they're very echoey places, and we even hear audibly their footsteps when they're sneaking around, yet somehow nobody seems to look around. Airports are traditionally quite secure places, especially in modern political environments, but no one seems to look around and wonder who's loudly sneaking around this hangar. And then Daniel gets into the plane, tries to fly away, and somehow TIE's crew are able to run up the hangar to the plane, catch up to it, and jump in. But that's slightly less believable than bring up the hangar to a plane which has just left, and absolutely nobody spots them, including the 2 armed guards who were literally just there a couple of seconds ago. A bit baffled about what exactly kind of happened in that moment there. But yeah, they get on, and then the Doctor makes a comment about how O is actually a sprinter, and I was confused about why he was having trouble running, and catches him out on a lie. And then you obviously think, oh well, he's clearly one of the spies, or he's been infiltrated by an alien, and then he says, I'm the spy master, and it's like, I mean, the actual plot twist, I guess, isn't that exciting now I think about it, as in the actual execution of the moment, because there's actually no build up towards it apart from the slight wordplay. But that's actually the correct amount of cheesiness that we expect from the Master, especially in the classic series, when that's literally all you had to go on, the fact that he was going to appear in the episode, and really you didn't really need huge extravagant amounts of kind of build up to the Master reappearing. It was literally, ta-da, I'm actually here, surprise. That was generally the Master's kind of thing anyway, so I'm not mad. And then Sacha Dhawan's portrayal and complete character change was quite exciting actually. And I got really into that. It was kind of the last part of the episode, and like I said, the rest of the episode up to that point, I guess it was a love letter to the spy genre, but I don't know. It never did really do much for me. Like the Return of Doctor Mysterio, the last Christmas special of Peter Capaldi's Doctor, was essentially a love letter to the superhero genre, but it was much more playful. I enjoyed it, and I guess that's Christmas special, so it has the ability to be a bit more jovial about the whole thing. Whilst this kind of just was passingly okay, but was kind of at times more fan service to the spy genre or anything else, and really any plot. I don't know. Thing is, I don't know what's going on yet with any of the aliens. And I get it's meant to be mystery, but the Doctor doesn't know. But the thing about a mystery is that it's only as engrossing as invested as the audience is. And the audience can't be invested if they're completely lost. You're meant to give them bits and pieces of what's going on, so their mind is also working, they can try to figure out what's going on, but we're not actually anywhere closer to the motivations. We know they're spies, that's the reveal, but we don't know any motivations about why they're spying, who they're spying for, what's the actual goal of this alien spy agency. So I'm struggling to become that invested in actually why, who, or what the aliens, which is the main driving force for most of the episode. You expect it to be thus all revealed in the next episode, but because there's no tension in the first half, there's no really tension in the cliffhanger for the second half about what's going to happen next, if that makes sense. Like in all the other cliffhangers, even though there's an ongoing mystery, you build up some sort of engagement from the audience into what's going on. So then the mystery becomes a stake for the next episode. But there's no stake here because we don't understand what's actually at stake. We don't understand what the risks are. You can at least tell what the risks are, if not the motivations. So I guess if it wasn't for the fact that the master was revealed, the cliffhanger would be quite lackluster. But yeah, so that's my initial thoughts of this episode, and I'm actually kind of excited to see Sunday because I want to see wherever take the master from here, and you know, the full hamminess of it, and hopefully some sort of awareness about what the heck is actually going on plot wise. I really hope. Part of me is afraid because of the relative. I guess the relative lack of. Like in the classic series, there wasn't that much hoo-ha that the master had returned. It just kind of happened, and that's fine. In the new series, it seems that they have to kind of pick up reveals a lot of you know, like and kind of speculate and leak stuff. So the fact that nothing happened here is maybe slightly afraid because I'm used to it. But this isn't actually the master, and they've done that before once or twice. But now I'm thinking about it, I've sort of settled down. I kind of think that's likely. What I hope is enough people agree with me that Sacha Dhawan's portrayal of the Master is actually quite wonderful. Because annoyingly, it seems that a lot of fan backlash can have a lot of influence on where directions of modern media could go, which I don't think is a particularly good thing. Cough, cough, Star Wars. And on that note, thanks for watching. I was watching the current viewers. I've just peaked more than anything else, so I guess I need to up my quality a bit. But yeah, you can come back here on Sunday, or maybe not Sunday, maybe Monday, because I think I'm not going to be home on Sunday, and we can talk a bit more about Spyfall Part 2. Oh, I got a comment just before I was about to hang up. Hi, random person. No, I wasn't expecting it either, and I generally think there's a good plot twist, and I hope it hits next week. Well, not next week, it hits on Sunday and carries the momentum. It's just a shame that the rest of the episode wasn't really that. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but there was not a kind of sense of depth to it. And I think a lot of drag is because of the extra characters who I don't really care about. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys. When I see you.